Diddy's ex wrapped up her testimony today after 4 grueling days on the stand.
She might have a lawsuit too.
Singer Dawn Richard testifies that Sean Diddy Combs hit Cassie Ventura with a skillet full of eggs.
You got to go back to the drugs and the alcohol, man. The drugs and the alcohol, man. And those things that make you do strange things.
What does it take to silence a courtroom? Dawn Richard's testimony about Cassie's alleged abuse by Diddy left everyone speechless. Get ready for the bombshell revelations that pulled the curtain back on an unimaginable reality.
Diddy's ex wrapped up her testimony today after 4 grueling days on the stand. The defense hit her hard during cross-examination, asking her about a stint in rehab for PTSD, a rape allegation, and asking her to read explicit text messages from over the past 15 years.
Richard accused Combs of sexual harassment, gender discrimination, and a hostile work environment by being exposed to sex trafficking and sex acts. She also alleged that she was a victim of false imprisonment. In her suit, Richard stated she was seeking compensatory and punitive damages, as well as other costs for post-traumatic stress, anxiety, and emotional suffering, and financial losses she suffered as a result of Combs' alleged behavior. Combs has denied her allegations. His lawyer told E! News in September, Mr. Combs is shocked and disappointed by this lawsuit. Richard's testimony in Combs' ongoing trial comes 8 months after she accused the rapper in a lawsuit of subjecting her to years of inhumane working conditions, which included groping, assault, and false imprisonment. The lawsuit, filed in September, obtained by E! News, stated, Mr. Combs frequently held meetings with Ms. Richard wearing only his underwear, despite Ms. Richard's protests and repeated requests for him to put on clothing. In her filing, the 41-year-old also alleged that Combs ordered her to strip down to her underwear, made demeaning remarks about her body, and entered her dressing room unannounced while she was unclothed, and touched her without her permission under the guise of showing the...
Dawn Richard testified in court about Diddy's alleged abuse of Cassie. She described emotional control, intimidation, and manipulation. Cassie was constantly monitored, scared, and unable to speak freely. The line that hit hardest, "We all saw it. We just didn't say anything." The courtroom went silent. It wasn't drama. It was credible, chilling, and serious. This case just got very real.
The Train. And she worked on the album, The Train to Paris. And like I heard one of the YouTube, it could be Tistel, say that we didn't know what the train to Paris meant. But now we know that the train to Paris was a train in Scotland. It wasn't a train in Paris. It was a train in Scotland. Every time I have a witness doing something is when 2 guys and 2 girls will go in the room. And that was just regular. And however they did it, whatever they did, that was their business. But he gotten bold enough, whereas that he would do that in front of Dawn and other people at a poolside in Scotland. You sure it was Scotland, man?
Kennedy Kane alum Dawn Richard, who began working with Sean Diddy Combs while competing on his show Making the Band in 2004, took the stand after Cassie wrapped her testimony May 16th. Richard joined Combs' group Diddy Dirty Money after Kennedy Kane disbanded. While on the stand, she told jurors that she saw Combs hit Ventura with a skillet full of eggs at his Los Angeles home in 2009. Richard testified per NBC News. He came downstairs asking where his phone was, and he threw her to the ground. He attempted to kick her. She fell to the ground and went into the fetal position, literally trying to hide her head. In addition to striking Ventura with the skillet, Richard said Combs put his arm around the singer's neck and took her upstairs before she heard glass breaking. Richard added, "I was scared for her. I was scared to do anything."
Richard's testimony struck the courtroom with great impact. Dawn, a former member of the girl group Kennedy Kane, created under Diddy's management, was more than just a past collaborator. She had a close and personal view of Diddy's world, making her testimony one of the most important moments in the trial's first week. People expected Dawn might share some interesting insights, but the details she revealed left everyone stunned. What exactly did she say about Cassie's situation that silenced the entire courtroom? Dawn's connection to both Diddy and Cassie went beyond professional ties. It was deeply personal. As a member of Kennedy Kane, she worked closely with Diddy, interacting with him and those around him regularly. Cassie, of course, was Diddy's longtime partner, a relationship that appeared glamorous on the surface. But Dawn's account revealed a much more complicated and difficult reality behind closed doors. Her testimony added important context to the years of rumors and speculation surrounding Diddy and Cassie's relationship. When Dawn took the stand, the atmosphere in the courtroom shifted noticeably. She described moments when she observed Diddy's tense behavior, creating a stressful environment for those nearby. According to Dawn, these tense moments often affected Cassie, who seemed to bear the weight of the difficult atmosphere. Dawn was clear that her words were based on her own firsthand experiences, not hearsay. She was there and saw everything unfold. One incident Dawn described left the room in silence. Without sharing exact words, she spoke of a disagreement where Diddy's raised voice visibly affected Cassie, showing the emotional strain she was under. It wasn't just the volume, it was the intensity and the way the situation seemed to leave Cassie feeling powerless to respond. For Dawn, this was just one of several moments where Cassie appeared to be caught in a challenging situation, struggling to find her own voice. Her testimony carried a mix of emotion, anger, and sadness, as if she had been waiting a long time to share the truth. Legal experts observing the trial noted that first-hand accounts like Dawn's are particularly powerful. Hearing about specific events someone witnessed can have a much stronger impact on a jury than general allegations alone. Diddy's reaction to Dawn's testimony was telling. Reporters described his body language as tense and defensive, as though he wasn't prepared for such direct remarks. Though he didn't interrupt, his expressions and gestures suggested discomfort with the picture Dawn painted. Her testimony not only challenged Diddy's public image, but also gave support to Cassie's claims in a way that was difficult to dismiss. The most striking moment for many was when Dawn said she believed Cassie was mostly just trying to cope and get through each day. Those words resonated deeply, summarizing years of challenges Cassie faced in a way that moved many in the courtroom. It wasn't just about disagreements. It was about Cassie living with ongoing stress and isolation, searching for strength. Dawn's testimony became a pivotal moment in the trial, influencing how the jury might view the entire case. Her account connected to the larger story of the situation, adding new depth that the defense will have to address. As the first week wrapped up, Dawn's words lingered in the courtroom. They were more than memories, they were a call to acknowledge a difficult reality that had long been hidden. With more witnesses expected to share their experiences in the coming days, including those close to both Cassie and Diddy, the trial is far from over. What will happen next remains to be seen, but Dawn's testimony has clearly set a significant tone for this high-profile case in the world of celebrity justice.
He stopped the way that she was working and how she could work by the fact that he would change, like you just said. What she would do, bro, he would turn off her mic and don't let her sing songs or don't let her do certain things, a part of the band, when he do her sexual advancements. I don't know what to say about that, brother. All I can say is that, you know, all of it sounds like using his power. He's using his power to get at people that works for him. And when you do that, when they bring you to court, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna lose if they can prove it.
One text message, Cassie writes, "I'm lost without you."
We know now that she called herself Cece for Cassie Combs. We know now that she wanted to have a child with him.
Jurors also heard an audio recording where Cassie could be heard threatening to kill a Diddy associate who had video of one of her freak-offs with Diddy.
The jurors were shocked. I saw the eyebrows raised.
Cassie was asked about receiving a FaceTime from her now husband while she was having sex with Diddy.
I think they're trying to use what they can, again, to discredit her.
If Dawn witnessed what she described as a troubling group event, it raised eyebrows, especially since it relates to an album titled The Train of Paris. Many had wondered about the meaning behind that title, but it now appears it referred to something happening in Scotland, not Paris. Dawn mentioned seeing some unusual group gatherings during her time working closely with Diddy and others. Don Richard, a former member of Danity Kane who began working with Scene Diddy Combs while competing on his show Making the Band in 2004, took the stand after Cassie concluded her testimony on May 16th. After Danity Kane disbanded, Richard joined Diddy's group Diddy Dirty Money. On the stand, Richard shared a distressing moment she witnessed at Diddy's Los Angeles home in 2009. According to her testimony, Diddy came downstairs asking about his phone and suddenly acted aggressively toward Cassie. She described Cassie falling and trying to protect herself during the incident, and Richard said she was scared and unsure how to intervene. The courtroom atmosphere shifted further when a surprising piece of evidence was introduced, an audio recording featuring Cassie. On the tape, Cassie is heard speaking to a Diddy associate, expressing intense emotions over a heated confrontation. The recording revealed the emotional strain within their relationship, capturing Cassie's desperation and determination to protect herself. Legal experts noted that the recording reflected someone worn down by years of stress and conflict rather than calculated anger. Cassie's voice fluctuated between frustration and resolve, showing how deeply affected she was by the situation. The recording also suggested how their issues impacted others connected to Diddy, highlighting the broader emotional complexity of their relationship. Experts following the trial explained that moments like these often occur in relationships marked by long-term emotional hardship. People in such situations may act in ways that seem extreme, but these reactions come from ongoing pressure and mental strain. One legal analyst said the tape added important context to the case. It wasn't just about confirming an unhealthy relationship. It revealed Cassie's ongoing struggle to cope with her circumstances. Her responses reflected a fight-or-flight mindset, where emotional reactions intensified over time. It wasn't simply a moment of anger. It was a glimpse into years of feeling constrained and overwhelmed. For the jury, the audio deepened the complexity of the allegations against Diddy and challenged them to understand Cassie's emotional state. While the recording alone may not serve as definitive proof, combined with Dawn Richards' testimony and other evidence, it painted a clearer picture of a difficult and painful cycle. As impactful as the tape was, it also raised important questions. Diddy's legal team is expected to argue that Cassie's emotional reactions undermine her credibility, suggesting instability to cast doubt on her testimony. This is a common defense strategy, especially in high-profile cases. The defense is likely to scrutinize not just the recording, but also other aspects of Cassie's past, including her mental health and previous personal experiences. However, the tape is more than a single moment of frustration. It reveals the complicated dynamics behind the relationship. For years, Diddy has been seen as a powerful figure in the music industry, while Cassie was often portrayed simply as his partner. The recording challenges that narrative by giving voice to Cassie's struggles to reclaim control in a relationship where she often felt powerless. What happens next could change the course of the trial. Will the defense focus more on discrediting Cassie, or will new evidence and testimonies further uncover the realities of their relationship? One thing is clear. The jury is now faced with a complex story involving power, emotional challenges, and personal hardship. The next developments in the trial could be decisive, and the courtroom is watching closely.
Unfortunately, we're all going to take a disgusting trip to his seedy, awful world. You know, the man has no class. He has no kindness in his dark, dark heart. And he's depraved. That's my opinion. This is a depraved, disgusting individual.
The facts are the facts, the texts are the texts, and I think that the evidence will be clear.
That Ventura had a choice and that she chose to participate in those sexual encounters.
Where she is entertaining other people in the bedroom. He enjoyed having the freak-offs.
She's being asked specifically about the drug use.
She is clearly excited about.
The defense team's attempt to focus on Cassie's past initially seemed strategic, but it ended up adding unexpected depth to the case. By bringing attention to Cassie's time in rehab, her struggles with PTSD, and a previous allegation from her earlier life, the defense aimed to question her credibility. Their goal was to portray her as emotionally unstable and unreliable, hoping this would weaken her testimony in the eyes of the jury. However, this approach had unintended effects. Instead of undermining Cassie, it revealed a woman coping with significant trauma and challenges. Legal experts following the trial noted that this tactic unintentionally highlighted her vulnerability. By discussing her struggles, the defense may have actually strengthened the argument that Cassie was subjected to emotional control during her relationship with Diddy. Rather than discrediting her, Cassie's past experiences helped illustrate how someone like Diddy might have taken advantage of her vulnerabilities to maintain control. A key point in the trial was the introduction of personal text messages between Cassie and Diddy, including one where Cassie wrote, "I'm lost without you." The defense used these messages to suggest she was emotionally dependent and that their relationship was consensual and mutual. Yet experts emphasize that trauma survivors often show attachment to those who hurt them, not because their pain didn't exist, but because manipulation can make them feel like they have no other choice. The court heard these messages alongside defense claims that Cassie's emotional state made her testimony less reliable. Legal insiders say this strategy often targets both a person's account and their overall character. Abuse survivors frequently face such scrutiny, especially when high-profile individuals are involved. It's a known tactic to highlight inconsistencies and personal struggles to create doubt in the minds of the public and jury. In Cassie's case, though, this approach may have backfired. Instead of weakening her story, it added complexity and depth to the narrative of someone who endured years of control and manipulation. By forcing Cassie to revisit difficult moments from her past, the defense might have unintentionally drawn more attention to Diddy's potential influence over her, especially considering the significant power imbalance in their relationship. Many observers noted how the revelations about Cassie's mental health and history actually made her allegations more credible. Her struggles with PTSD and rehab were seen not as flaws, but as understandable consequences of living through a challenging and unhealthy relationship. Rather than casting doubt, this line of defense invited more questions about how much Cassie's emotional pain stemmed from her time with Diddy. While the defense may have hoped to distract from earlier evidence, they instead offered a more nuanced view of Cassie's experience, highlighting how trapped she may have felt emotionally, mentally, and even physically. This unexpected shift is already shaping the jury's perspective. The case now goes beyond isolated texts or events. It's about patterns of behavior, power differences, and the lasting impact on those involved. With more witnesses, including former associates of Danny Kane and people close to Diddy, the story is growing more complex. Whether intended or not, the defense's efforts to challenge Cassie have only emphasized the seriousness of her claims. As the trial moves forward, testimonies from those who knew Cassie and Diddy are expected to reveal even more about this complicated and important case.
Diddy's ex wrapped up her testimony today after 4 grueling days on the stand.
She might have a lawsuit too.
Singer Don Richard testifies that Sean Diddy Combs hit Cassie Ventura with a skillet full of eggs.
You got to go back to the drugs and the alcohol, man. The drugs and the alcohol, man. And those things will make you do strange things.
What does it take to silence a courtroom? Don Richard's testimony about Cassie's alleged abuse by Diddy left everyone speechless. Get ready for the bombshell revelations that pulled the curtain back on an unimaginable reality.
Diddy's ex wrapped up her testimony today after 4 grueling days on the stand. The defense hit her hard during cross-examination, asking her about a stint in rehab for PTSD, a rape allegation, and asking her to read explicit text messages from over the past 15 years.
Richard accused Combs of sexual harassment, gender discrimination, and a hostile work environment by being exposed to sex trafficking and sex acts. She also alleged that she was a victim of false imprisonment. In her suit, Richard stated she was seeking compensatory and punitive damages, as well as other costs for post-traumatic stress, anxiety, and emotional suffering, and financial losses she suffered as a result of Combs' alleged behavior. Combs has denied her allegations. His lawyer told E! News in September, Mr. Combs is shocked and disappointed by this lawsuit. Richard's testimony in Combs' ongoing trial comes 8 months after she accused the rapper in a lawsuit of subjecting her to years of inhumane working conditions, which included groping, assault, and false imprisonment. The lawsuit, filed in September, obtained by E! News, stated, Mr. Combs frequently held meetings with Ms. Richard wearing only his underwear, despite Ms. Richard's protests and repeated requests for him to put on clothing. In her filing, the 41-year-old also alleged that Combs ordered her to strip down to her underwear, made demeaning remarks about her body, and entered her dressing room unannounced while she was unclothed, and touched her without her permission under the guise of showing the...
Aubrey O'Day is the next name making headlines in this already intense trial. As another former member of Danny Kane, she's stepping forward to share her own experiences under Diddy's management. Everyone is asking, what does she know? What has she witnessed? Aubrey is preparing to take the stand, and her testimony could add important new details. But Aubrey isn't the only one. Several of Diddy's former employees, some of whom were close to his personal and professional life, are also ready to testify. Each witness brings a new layer to this unfolding story, one that is becoming harder to ignore. The importance of multiple witnesses cannot be overstated. Don Richard's earlier testimony shook the courtroom by providing a powerful look at Cassie's allegations. Her words challenged Diddy's carefully maintained public image. Now, with Aubrey's expected testimony, the patterns of control and difficult behavior being described may become even clearer. Aubrey offers a unique perspective, having worked closely with Diddy during Danny Kane's peak years and likely witnessing what happened behind the scenes. This trial isn't about isolated incidents. It's building a picture of ongoing behavior. Aubrey's testimony is especially important because she has spoken openly before about the challenges of working with Diddy. Though she hasn't directly accused him of misconduct in the past, her willingness to speak out makes her upcoming testimony highly significant. If Aubrey supports any of the claims made by Cassie and Don, it could help confirm a consistent pattern of behavior over the years. This is exactly why legal experts say multiple testimonies are so powerful. They form a chain of accounts that are more difficult to dismiss. Dawn's testimony, for instance, describes specific moments when she saw Cassie under pressure and emotional strain due to Diddy's actions. She shared how controlling behavior seemed constant in their relationship. Those details had a strong impact, and with Aubrey's testimony coming next, the jury is likely to view these events as part of a broader pattern. Once such a pattern is established, it becomes very difficult to argue these were just isolated incidents or misunderstandings. What makes this trial even more compelling is the involvement of former employees. These aren't just acquaintances. They worked closely with Diddy in managing his daily affairs.